Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to today's HDI webinar, What is a Call Storm and How Do We Prevent One? Today's webinar is brought to you by Everbridge. I'm Roy Atkinson, and I'll be your moderator today, and I'll also be presenting some material for you. We have just a few announcements before we begin. First of all, we'd like to let you know that HDI is accessible on social media, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter. And of course, our members can chat and ask questions on HDI Connect. That's connect.thinkhdi.com. You can participate in a Q&A session by asking questions at any time during this webcast. They'll be answered during the Q&A session toward the end of the webcast. You can download the slides from today's presentation, and also some useful links are available if you open the Attachments tab on your BrightTalk screen. The slides will advance automatically throughout the event. If you're experiencing any technical difficulty, please refresh your browser. That cures almost every ill. Remember that today's webcast will be available on demand shortly after the completion of this live webcast, and you'll receive an email reminder to let you know that it's available. Thank you so much for attending today. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about what a call storm is. Can it happen in other channels besides phones? We call it a call storm. Why does this happen? How can the support center respond? And how can call storms be avoided? That was very good, Roy. Avoided. And we'll get some very useful information from Vincent Jeffrey, who joins us today. Vincent is the Senior Director of Product Marketing at Everbridge, focusing on IT service alerting and notification automation. He has more than 15 years of experience in the IT operations and service management space, with expertise in critical communications, IT service alerting, application performance management, and IT process, runbook, and workload automation. Thanks for joining us today, Vincent.
Thank you, Roy.
So let's talk a little bit about what happens to generate a call storm. It's a condition when the support center becomes overwhelmed by the number of contacts. And I think Vincent has heard me talk about this a little bit before. Some years ago, not that many, probably about 10 years ago, I was working in an IT department in a mid-sized institution, and we had 21 straight days of major outages of one sort or another. We had a complete email and calendar outage across the system. We had a network outage across the entire institution, which was really good because we were just beginning to deploy voice over IP phones. So all those phones went out of action when the network went down. So you can imagine the kind of impact that has on an institution when a major system like that goes down. So what happens is people come into work, sometimes earlier than the IT folks. They try to access a system that they had perfect access to yesterday, and they can't get to it. Either they can't get to their network printer, or they can't get their email, they can't look at their calendar, they're not sure what's coming up today. All of these things can happen when a major system goes down. What happens? They pick up the phone and they call IT if their phone is working. And so as people come to work, the volume of calls gets higher and higher and higher and higher. And then we would announce, the IT department would announce overhead speakers, any way that we could possibly get the message out that there was this outage happening, we're working on it, we're aware of it, etc. But then other people come to work, or they come out of meetings that they were in, didn't hear the overhead announcement, they get back to their desks, they try to access the system, they call. And so what can happen is you can get a huge volume of contacts in a short period of time. And if the network is working, in fact, it could be email, it could be people generating their own tickets in a self-service portal. They could go in and create tickets. You're getting overwhelmed with all of these contacts, and it goes on and on and on. And that's basically what a call storm is. It's inability to respond to the huge number of contacts. I mean, it's almost impossible for a staff to get back to the number of people who are contacting them in a case of a major outage like this. And so that is a condition that you really want to avoid. So something major goes wrong, people have trouble accessing and using an important system. They don't know if you know. That's key, I think. They're not aware of the fact that IT knows about it and is working on it, because in some cases you can't put it up on your web page, because you can't update your web page, you can't send email out, you can't do whatever. So as people arrive at work, they contact support, and it just keeps building and building. So what's your course of action? And of course, and we talk about this a lot in IT, you should have a plan. You should know who needs to be involved in handling an incident like this, how they are going to handle an incident like this, what they need to do, when they're supposed to do it, where they need to be, and why they need to do what they do, or what's going on, the big why, which is what's behind the outage. Did a switch go down? Did a fire happen in a building? What's the real cause that's preventing people from doing their work? And so if you have a plan in place, it is exceedingly helpful. I can tell you, again, firsthand, that in several cases it was of the utmost importance that we had roles defined, so we knew who was supposed to do what, how they were supposed to do it, when they were supposed to do it, where they were supposed to be, and why. And if you have those plans in place, it can help you tremendously. But of course, as I'm sure Vincent is going to tell you, it's not always easy to get everybody, first of all, aware of the situation, second of all, in the place that they need to be. Because, again, IT people are scattered all over your organization. They have various jobs to do. They may be in the data center. They may not be paying that strict attention to overhead announcements, or they're in an area where you can't hear them. They may not even know what's going on at first. And so it is exceedingly important that the contacts get made the right way and will get people's attention. And that is a key element of what Vincent's going to talk about. So I just want you to think about this. What if 70% of your company called you or emailed you or submitted tickets in an hour? Just think about that. That is a huge amount of volume for which you are not staffed, for which your systems are not designed, and now you've got a call storm. You've got a condition which you really cannot respond rapidly enough to address the issue, because the first thing people want to know is if you know about it, how long it's going to last, when they can go back to work, etc. So if you can't even get that basic information out to people because you're so overwhelmed, you've got a big problem, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Support attempts to respond, but you've got your procedures to do. You know what your major incident response, I hope you know what your major incident response procedures are. You get the major incident response team together. How do you get them together? How do you contact those people? How do you create the call bridge if there's problems on your telephone system? Okay, that's one thing to consider. If half your phones are out, how do you get those folks connected up on a call bridge? As people try to get in, the cycle repeats. So can you reach everybody who's affected by this is the first thing. And how can you be sure people are getting the message is the second thing. Because what you want to do before you do anything else, from a support perspective, is make sure that you cut off the call storm. You have to stop the call storm. Otherwise, your phones are going to be overwhelmed. You're not going to be able to talk to people. You're not going to be able to get on that bridge because your phone system is now overwhelmed entirely, or your emails are pouring in at such a rate that you can't even email out to people. So think about that, 70% of your company. Very simple way to avoid this is, of course, never to have a major incident. But guess what? You are going to have them. And for a bunch of reasons, some of them technical, some of them human, and probably most of them human. Again, firsthand, I will tell you this story. Our data center had a really frightful outage as part of this 21 straight days. During a thunderstorm, the power went out. We had a massive UPS system to back up the power in the data center. However, the battery, unbeknown to anybody in IT because they hadn't tested it, went immediately down. It lasted about 2 minutes, and then the battery collapsed. The data center crashed, and it was, suffice it to say, a pretty messy affair. So a few weeks later, we had the UPS provider, the manufacturer, come in to install a replacement system, and while they were installing the replacement battery, one of the technicians accidentally flipped the master power switch for the data center, causing yet another complete collapse of the data center. So these things can happen. It's not always your staff that creates the problem or contributes to the problem. It can happen for any number of reasons, and you can prepare as best you can. My personal advice would be to test every system that you possibly can. I was once touring a data center in a hospital, and the data center manager said, I was asking about their power backup, this being in fairly recent memory at the time, this double collapse that we'd had in our data center, and said, oh yeah, we're completely confident in our battery backups here. Do you want to see? And he put his hand on the switch. And that's confidence. And I said, how can you be that confident about it? And he says, because we test it 5 times a week. So frequent testing is very good. You save backups, can you restore? You have to test every system that you work with in order to provide that level of confidence and make sure things are working. But on to the subject at hand. So again, going back to the fact that your network is down, your VoIP phones are out, people can't see your web page, mobile workers don't hear PA announcements, and as we know, about 70 to 75% of the workforce now is in fact mobile. How do you alert those people to the fact that the reason that they can't get their sales into your sales system is because the entire network is down, or the data center is down, or that application is down, you have a major outage. It's increasingly difficult to make sure that everybody gets the message that says, this is down, this is how long we expect it to be down before we're able to get it back up again, and this is the course of action that you need to take. Always critical questions that people will ask you when they contact you, and those answers are exceedingly important just to let them know what to expect. So this is a great transition here for you, Vincent. I think this is probably a very, very profound statement that every company is an IT company now, and we don't think about it that way enough. But IT is so critical to every organization. So maybe you can walk us through some of the things that we could do to prevent this, being overwhelmed in support.
Right. And I will. So thank you very much, Roy, for the introduction, because I think you really set the stage here. So before I get into the content of my presentation here, I'd like to summarize what Roy explained to us, and just help you recognize when you can be under a cold storm. When do they happen? And then I'll get into the why this is happening, and why is it so hard for IT to prevent them from happening and to get the right processes in place in case they actually occur. So like Roy just said, for these cold storms to happen, you need 2 elements here. That's going to be, this is going to happen because of a mission critical application. So some of your business applications that are being used by a large number of employees or customers, okay? So it requires a lot of people using this application. And 2, like Roy explained, this application is going to have some kind of dysfunction, or is not going to be working properly for a certain period of time, right? So that you have a large number of business users that can't even do their job. So that's the combination of those two elements. First, it's a business application used by a lot of people, and this business application is not available. And if I translate this into our ITIL jargon, this is the very definition of what a major incident is: high urgency and high impact, right? So those cold storms happen when experiencing major incidents. And like Roy mentioned, this is a statement I like to start with. Today, every company is an IT company, just so we realize that regardless of the industry you're in, regardless of the vertical, we can say that today, most of the business transactions rely on IT. They are all done via computer applications, right? Whether you are in manufacturing and you're using a internal system, your employees are using an internal system such as SAP system, Oracle Business, for the supply chain, for shipping, and so on and so forth. You're in transportation. Think about the airline companies. As soon as there's a hiccup, a technical hiccup with their reservation system, then you have thousands of planes grounded and mess in different airports. Think about healthcare. Since 2014, all hospitals in the US are required to use a electronic medical record system, or also called a electronic health record system, which means everything now in the hospitals is digitalized, relies on IT. E-commerce is a no-brainer. If your company is selling products or services over the internet, then as you can imagine, a slow website or an outage of your web application is going to have a huge impact on revenue generation of your company, right? I could take other examples of what major incidents are. But so just like I said, every company now today is an IT company, and there are two kinds of companies. I like to categorize the companies into two categories. The first one are the companies that were born on the web, that were born digital. Think about this one here, but also the Netflix, the PayPal, the eBay, Uber, you name it. These are the companies that rely on IT at 100%. And the second category of companies will be the other companies, the companies that were not born on the web, that were not born digital, but had to evolve, had to transform. And that's the most, the broadest category of companies. And this is the challenge today, as the demand for a new application, for digital application, for mobile application raises, IT has to support those businesses, right? So today, since every company is an IT company, we can even say that an IT issue today is going to translate very quickly into a business issue.
And if I can interject there, Vincent, it's very clear that some businesses are digitally native, and I think about Amazon in terms of call storms. And in Amazon's case, it might be more of a tweet storm, as we've seen with when Amazon Web Services has had problems over the last couple of years. There's a huge amount of Twitter activity, people reaching out to Amazon to find out what's going on with AWS, when is it going to get fixed? The same questions that I was talking about before. And those external customer-facing companies, especially the ones that are digital, it's so critical for them to be able to communicate with their customers and with their internal people who are supporting their customers.
That's a very, very good point. And, that reminds me something that the CEO of Amazon said a few years ago. I mean, I'm going to say almost 8 years ago, when he said, before social networks, you had an issue with your computer system, or you were not happy with customer service, you would tell a few friends. With social networks, you're going to tell thousands of people in a few seconds because of Twitter and Facebook and all those websites where people are going to share information about applications that are not up and running. If you know those, and I'm thinking websites like easydownrightnow.com or downrightnow.com, where everybody goes as soon as some of the customer-facing websites are not working properly. So yeah, that's a really good point.
And in fact, people may go to those social media sites before they even try to contact the technical support arm of one of those external-facing companies, and they may find out about it secondhand. The companies themselves might find out about it secondhand simply because they're seeing so much Twitter activity or Facebook activity about a particular issue.
That's correct, because if you're looking at booking an hotel room, for instance, on a hotel reservation website, I'm not going to give any names here, but if it doesn't work, or if you get the spinning wheel, the spinning wheel in the middle of the screen, you're not going to call tech support. You're not going to call the tech support of those companies because you're just a customer, right? So yes, for those external-facing applications, social media is a way for them to warn or to make the IT departments of those companies aware of the issue, as opposed to internal employees who are just going to call the service desk and create and generate this call storm that we're talking about. So if we want to take another example of what a major incident would look like in a corporation, an enterprise, I could say here, so meet Cindy. Cindy, as you can see, is working remotely. She's like millions of U.S. workers, U.S. employees working from home. So she's remote, and Cindy works in the procurement department of a large public company in the U.S. And her job is to review the contracts and make modifications to the contracts that her company is putting together for their customers, right? And what you see here is that Cindy is not having a good day today. Looks like she is frustrated with the computer application that she is using. And I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Yeah. And let me give you some more information. This is happening on December 30th, 2016 at 2 in the afternoon, which is, if you remember, if you check your calendar, is the last Friday in 2016, which means it's the last business day of business day in the fiscal year. And for any public company, to be able to recognize revenue on a given fiscal year, contracts have to be signed by customers before the end of this last business day of the month. So it's last Friday, 2 in the afternoon, and Cindy cannot process the contract for the customers. What is she going to do? She's going to open a ticket with the service desk, right? That's the only thing she can do. She is, again, a remote employee. So she may use the phone, she may send an email, or you may have a form for her to fill out so she can enter the information. So this is quickly turned into a big pressure for Cindy and the sales organization. Why? Because they just have a few hours before the end of the day and to complete those contracts and have those contracts signed by customers, because after that everybody's going to go on a break for New Year's weekend, right? So the pressure is going to start with, from an end user perspective, with the sales rep calling into the procurement department, asking where they stand on the contracts, and it may escalate to the sales management, saying where are we with those contracts, what about the revenue generation, and so on. Now, on the service desk side, service desk is going to see this ticket coming through. It's going to see more of those tickets as the issue keep going, and they're going to have to reach out to the right people to fix the issue. Now, in the meantime, they don't know what's happening. They can't answer the question to the end users on when this is going to be fixed and when they'll be able to get back to normal. So I wanted to share this with you. When we ask IT professionals about the impact of major incidents on their organization, the first two answers usually are, in this recent survey, the first one was the impact on employee productivity, the Cindy's of the organizations. Of course, Cindy cannot work. The organization, and all the employees in her team are going to feel the same pain and won't be able to produce anything for the company. And the second biggest impact when asked is the disruption or distraction that it creates within the IT teams. And to understand this, let's look at the very specific role of service desk in the process of resolving a major incident. So if you see my slide here, again, there's a major incident. Should that be the procurement application, the contract application, emails are down, or any of the examples that Roy mentioned before, business users are going to start being impacted. They are going to contact, as you can see on this slide, the service desk. Function of the service desk, if it's a P1, a major incident, a save one, is going to be to assign a incident manager. Here, on this slide here, you see that we have actually two persons, an incident coordinator and an incident owner. And the role for those individuals or for this function is going to be first to identify the right major incident response team, engage this team so that they can get working on the issue and get the incidents resolved ASAP. At the same time, they're going to have to communicate with the line of business, the application owner, the management on the progress that they are making on the incident resolution, and also communicate back to the business users to let them know that, yes, we know there's an issue, IT is actually working on fixing the issue, and we'll let you know when the incident is resolved. Okay? So that's the very fundamental role of service desk, caught in the middle between the business users and the IT organization, which clearly shows here that to be able to better handle those cold storms or those major incident resolution, we need to make sure that there is alignment between the service desk and the IT teams when it comes to responding faster to major incidents. Because service desk or support centers on their own will not fix the issue, will not be able to get back to business users with information about how long it's going to take to resolve the issue. So what I'd like to do now is try to understand better why this is so hard to resolve issues faster, and why this is so hard to really get to those business users with relevant information about what's happening and when this issue should be resolved. So what I'm going to do now is walk you through a typical manual response process, which means the organization, whether or not they're ready to cope with major incidents, don't have anything automated, don't have any automated processes, and everything that they do is going to be based on a manual response. So what you see on the screen is what happens when a critical event is detected. Again, that can be detected by your business user, by your end user. Cindy is trying to use the application to do her job, and she cannot access the application. That's a business user. She's going to send an email, call, open a ticket with the service desk. That, the same way, it can very well be your 24/7 network operation center or security operation center who are going to detect that the application that Cindy is using shows a performance issue or shows a availability issue, right? Bottom line, this is going to be, at the end of the day, we're going to open a ticket with the service desk, right? And this is when the clock is going to start ticking. A ticket is going to be opened in your ITSM system, should that be ServiceNow, BMC Remedy, the Sherwell, the HP Service Manager, the CA Service Desk, Ivanti, HIT software, so on and so forth, right? So we open the P1. What do we do next? What we see is that usually the organization will assign an incident manager to the ticket, right? in turn, the incident manager is going to identify the teams, and within the teams, the people that he or she needs to reach out to start investigating the issue. One of the trend or the pattern that we see when we talk to organizations like this, we usually see that people are using emails as their first communication channel to reach out to the IT teams. And what you see here on the screen is an example where the incident manager needs to reach out to 5 people. He or she sends an email and only 1 confirms. Why is that? Why do people don't really answer emails? Now, I'm going to give you some ideas, but I'm pretty sure that's what you experience in real life. Think about where might be those IT experts that we need to reach out ASAP so that they can start addressing the issue. It's most likely that those IT guys, those IT experts are going to be stuck in a meeting where they're not going to be looking at their emails. They may be out to lunch to some kind of a break, so they won't be looking actively at their emails. They may be working in the data center. They may be stuck in traffic, going back home or going to the office. They may even be sleeping. And as far as I'm concerned, if you try to reach out to me by sending me an email at 3 in the morning, it's most likely that it's not going to wake me up, right? Emails don't wake anybody up at 2 or 3 in the morning. And in some occasions, we even see people reporting that they receive emails to join a conference bridge while they're on vacation, they're on PTO, right? So email is really not the favorite or the preferred communication channel when trying to reach out to people in a timely manner. And there are other reasons why you may not want to use email as your primary communication channel. First one is you have no way to tell if people have received your email. You have no way to differentiate the email from being a important email, major email, or just a regular email. And IT professionals, they receive hundreds of emails every day. So how could they tell if first this email is really directed at them? How can they tell that they are required on this specific restoration call? They have no way to tell, and this could be a subject for a different webinar. But we could talk about alert fatigue, and why email is really not the preferred communication channel. So back to
if I can interrupt you for a second, I really like the statement that email doesn't wake people up. And I think a lot of times we tend to forget it because we're so used to using email as a primary means of communication. We forget that there are different levels of things that require different levels of response, and email doesn't get that level of response attention that other means do. So that's really a critical statement, I think.
I totally agree with you. And there's another reason when you ask people why they're still using email, sometimes I got this answer, this amazing answer saying, you know what, I'd rather send an email to people than calling them because it creates less tension, you know. So people think that by sending an email it's easier and doesn't create any tension between service desk and IT operation, while this is I guess not the case. So back to the process. So they send an email. Guess what? It's not working really good, very well, right? So the next thing they're going to have to do as an incident manager is going to be to call those people, right? Those people that they've identified. If you need 2 network engineers on this restoration call, if they don't answer your email, you're going to have to call them, right? So now you need to find their contact information, their phone number, and you're going to have to call them and convince them that they need to join the restoration call, right? And this is taking an average of 4 minutes per contact. Again, this is in the best case scenario. Forget calling into Beijing, China, or Bangalore, India at 2 in the morning. So 4 minutes, so that's another 16 minutes. Next, for the people that they were not able to join on the first try, they're going to try another phone number. So they may try the cell phone number now. Same thing, you have to go through spreadsheets, SharePoint, whatever system you're using to store contact information, and then find out if people have given the organization their cell phone number, and if so, try to call. Same thing, you call. If you're lucky, you're going to be talking to someone and convince that person that they need to join the conference call. They need to join the war room, right? But if not, so that's going to take another 4 minutes per contact. But if not, what are you going to do next? What is the incident manager going to do next? He has no choice but to escalate to the manager of those teams, right? So if I need 2 network engineers on this restoration call, no answer from the team. I try to call, no one is answering. I need to call the network team manager and say, you know what, we need 2 people from your team. Can you please help us get 2 people from your team? Which in turn is what the manager is going to do. He's going to call his teams and say, okay, I need 2 of you guys to help on the restoration. Another 4 minutes per contact. And then finally, incident manager is going to be able to send the dialing information for the conference bridge to everybody and get everyone to connect to the conference bridge or the war room, depending on the location and the application. Now, if you look at what's very interesting is look at the time it takes to respond to a major incident. You know, this is a very simple process here, but yet we've already spent 51 minutes, which means Cindy, on the other side of the screen, is still waiting for an answer, is still waiting for acknowledgement, is still waiting for knowing when the system is going to be back up and running again. And within those 51 minutes, guess what? It's not one person who is impacted, but we now have hundreds, if not thousands of people experiencing the same issue with this business application. And guess what? Those hundreds of people, thousands of people have already started calling into your service desk. And like Roy mentioned before, you can never be ready for handling thousands or hundreds of calls at the same time, right? So this is basically how those call storms are forming based on the responsiveness of the response process. So what you see here is the longer the time it takes to engage with the IT team, the bigger the number of inbound call volumes into your service desk, or the bigger the storm. Now, there are solutions, but before we get into the solutions, here's what's happening. So, like I said, we are now more than 50 minutes into the cold storm or into the crisis. Now what? It's most likely that the situation is getting worse than at the beginning of the incident. Think about a cyber attack. Think about those major incidents which are going to propagate over time. In the meantime, now I've got my IT experts who were working on something. You know, they always have cool projects they're working on, and it's always a bad news for them when someone from service desk or support center is calling them to come and help on a restoration call. Why? Because they know that they're going to be stuck for the next 2, 3, 4 hours trying to firefight those issues, right? And not working on strategic projects. So this is creating frustration within the IT teams. Depending on the process, if we've been sending emails to entire teams, that means we've just been bothering people who should not even have been contacted. Why? Because they're not even the ones who are going to help us solve or resolve the incident. It creates tension between the teams. You know, service desk. If service desk is using emails and blast emails to entire teams, then I can see why IT teams may be, tired of receiving so many emails, not knowing which ones are important to them. So it creates tensions between service desk, the IT ops, and the development teams. And like I said, now, because we've waited so long to reach out to the right people so they can start investigating the issue, we now have hundreds, if not thousands, of calls waiting in queue with the service desk. And that's the cherry on the cake, we still haven't started investigating the issue. So, how can we help? How can we prevent those from happening? Like I said, email is not efficient. If email is fine when we're dealing with minor incidents. When you're dealing with major incidents, you should think about other communication channels. Other communication challenges: lack of consistency in messages being sent out. If for every new major incident, the process is different, the template is different, the message that we're sending to the IT teams is different, it is not going to help. What we need is a cleaned handover between the service desk and the IT team, so that if I'm the service desk, I know that each time I'm going to need to reach out to the IT team, I'm going to be using that same message template. And on the other hand, if I'm an IT professional and if I receive a phone call or a SMS from service desk telling me that I need to join this restoration call, I know I am required on this call, right? There's no more alert fatigue. This is going to bring, this in turn is going to increase the levels of responsiveness and accountability. If I know that when I'm being called by tech support, it's because they need me, I will take the call. If there are no clear escalation process, this can also create confusion. Now, if I know that there's a clear escalation process, and if I know that if I don't pick up the phone, then my colleague is going to be reached out next, or my manager is going to receive a phone call, guess what? I'm going to take this call, right? And talking about those people who are waiting in line, online, that are calling into the service desk to first open a ticket, so they want to make sure that IT knows about the issue, but also want to understand what's going on and how IT is going to fix the issue and when the service is going to be restored. Proactive communication. Why don't we send a proactive communication as soon as we know there's a major incident to those impacted business users saying, hey guys, we know this application is down, IT is working on it, we'll let you know when it's back up and running again. This way, this is going to prevent or at least reduce the number of calls into your service desk. Therefore, it's going to decrease or reduce the size of the storm. So these are the communication challenges that you can fix with little automation and and using few tools. And ultimately, like I like to say, automation is your solution. If you are able to automate the reach to your IT team while sending proactive notification to your impacted business users, you're going to do two things. First, you're going to help reduce the time it takes to resolve the actual issue. As you can see here, with little automation, so same process, there's a critical event, business users are impacted, they open tickets with your service desk, we open a ticket in an ITSM system, we call it a P1, a SAVE 1, a major incident, and then automatically, if we can automatically assign an incident manager based on the type of application that's at fault, based on the severity or priority of the incident, if we can also automatically reach out to the right team, again, based on the type of application, the people required to fix the issue, and based on who's on call for the particular application, if we can also automate the fact that if people don't answer, don't respond to the notification, then automatic escalation is going to kick in. Therefore, if I'm not responding to the SMS that I've received, if I'm not responding to the call that I'm receiving, I know that the next person in line is going to receive the notification, or my boss is going to receive the notification, ensuring that there's going to be someone at the end of the day, someone's going to respond to the message, right? And if I can automate the conference bridge or the war room so that in one click, directly from the notification, people can jump on a conference bridge, should that be a technical conference bridge or management conference bridge for the line of business, then I'll be able to shorten the time it takes to identify the issue, investigate the issue, so that service desk can now get back to business users and say, we have an issue, we know what's going on, and it's going to take us 20 minutes to resolve the incident. So service desk will be able to get back to the business users. And in the meantime, as you can see, this is based on data on a survey that we did a few months ago. With automation, this time to response process between the time we open a P1 in the ticketing system and the time where all the required IT experts are engaged and start investigating the issue can go down from 51 minutes to 5 minutes. In turn, this is bringing a few other benefits. So, like I said, reach out to the people who are absolutely required only. Automatic escalation is no answer. And again, this is not someone from the service desk calling. This is automation. This is a platform calling. So there's no time for arguing on the phone that no, I'm a network engineer. I'm pretty sure it's not the network. You don't need me on this restoration call. So the fact that this is the platform calling is not going to create any. There will be no time for arguing. Informing the impacted users proactively means if I know that IT is aware of the issue, why would I even open a ticket? Why would I even call into the service desk? It's going to reduce the number of inbound calls. Again, for the IT resolvers, provide them features such as a get on a conference call in one click. No need anymore to send dialing information and access codes and so on and so forth. Same for keeping the stakeholders informed. Remember, if you remember the diagram with the service desk being caught in the middle between the business users, the IT resolvers or the IT team responders, and the line of management. We can, the automation will help you have those conference bridges open for stakeholders so they are informed all along the restoration process, and inform your business users. And as a result, this is going to have an impact on the distraction and disruptions of the team by reducing the IT unplanned work and the firefighting. With that, I just wanted to share a few organizations that are using automation solutions for responding faster to major incidents, and therefore reducing the volumes of calls into the service desk. So as a takeaway, I'd like to finish this my part of the presentation with a few takeaways here. If you think, or if you know that the time to respond in your organization may be improved, you may want to start measuring this time to respond. And again, the time to respond is the time it takes from getting a P1 in your ticketing system to the time you have all the right IT responders connected on the same conference bridge, starting to investigate the issue. If you find that this time to respond is less than 5 minutes, I think you're in a good shape, you're in a good good situation, and that your process may be improved, but you're already in good shape. But if it's not, then there's room for improvement. There's room for improvement because you will be very easily able to review your on-call schedule management so that whenever something happens, you know automatically who to contact and how to contact those persons. Escalation process. Review your escalation process so that if the primary responders don't answer the notification, then automatically get to the next person in line, get to the manager. Don't waste time going through spreadsheets, phone books, and other calendars. Just get this automated. And last but not least, like we said before, emails shouldn't be the primary communication channel in case of major incident. And so if this is the case at your organization, you review your notification system and review and assess different notification channels so that you get better at reaching out to the people and making sure that not only they receive, but they respond to the notification. And again, something we didn't say, but we didn't talk about, but if you're using emails as your preferred communication channel, what happens when emails are down? Emails down is one of the most common major incidents for any corporations in the US. When emails are down, this is impacting the entire enterprise. Now, if email is also your communication channel, then you are facing a double issue here. So with that, I think we're going to have a few minutes to take questions, Roy.
Yes, absolutely. And I would like to mention also, Vincent, that, and I think you and I have talked about this before, there's a kind of half-joking metric that I picked up from my friend Carlos, and it's mean time to find someone, MTTFS. And it refers to that situation that you were talking about where you can't get the right person on the bridge. You can't contact the person. They're not there for some reason. And so now somebody's running around trying to track somebody down who can get on the conference bridge and to either take their place or trying to find that person who's needed on the call. So it's an interesting half-joking statement. So
and you're totally right. That's really the mean time to find someone. But with the complexity of applications today, it's most likely that when we are experiencing a major incident, it's going to take more than one person to find. So the mean time to respond is actually what you just described, is the mean time to find all the someone that we need to have a look at a specific issue.
Absolutely. Thank you. So a couple of questions we have here. One is, did you say that the incident coordinator from the service desk is responsible for updating the business units?
So the incident coordinator, so it's a function. Sometimes you have only one person, let's say we call it the major incident manager or the incident manager. Yes, he's responsible for reaching out to the IT response team, so all the technical persons that are going to investigate and fix the issue, is also responsible for feeding the service desk agents with information about the issue so that service desk can communicate with business users about what's going on and give them information about the resolution process.
Yeah, that's well put. Someone asked, do you suggest putting a simple message on the help desk line to outline the issue, what's being done to resolve the issue? This way the call would automatically know what's being done. Update message periodically. So yes, I'll take a stab at this one. Absolutely, that's something that was in our process at the service desk. As soon as you get any kind of an interruption that's going to cause, even a moderate to severe impact, you put an outgoing announcement on your phone. But when people are calling in, think about what they're doing on the other end. A lot of times they're not really paying attention to the announcements because they've called before. They think they know what it says, even though it says something different. It's hard to get their attention, and they may or may not get the message clearly, even if you make a good announcement on the outgoing line. Absolutely do it. because at least a good percentage of your people are going to get the message that you are aware of it and you're working on the issues, but a lot of times people will not hear that outgoing message clearly.
And I'd like to add one comment to this, Roy. All those are good techniques or tactics. Now, it's going to depend on your industry and on the business application. Let me give you an example. So, I was working with an organization, so an IT organization, support center for a large bank. Not the retail banking side of the house, but the investment banking side of the house. So basically, the employees for this bank are traders, right? Traders. They sell and buy stock options and funds and all kind of financial products on a daily basis, right? The most critical application for this organization was the trading application. It's like an intranet application where traders have a dashboard where they see the price of the different products. And as you know, the price of those stocks and financial products, they change based on not even a second, but every second changes. And they have this weird behavior of the application. Sometimes it's like frozen. So sometimes the application displays wrong pricing information. That can create or generate a huge loss for the organization. If the traders are selling or buying based on wrong pricing information, that can be a big issue. And what's interesting in their use case is that traders don't even see that the application is not working fine because they're just looking at the dashboard to get the pricing. What I'm saying here is that even if there was a message on the phone line, there would be, even if there was a message on an intranet, those people, they don't go on the intranet. They're just looking at this dashboard and they do their job. They wouldn't even find information from service desk. So in this case, we had to send them something that's gonna, on the screen saying, guys, there's a big issue with your application. Stop selling stop doing your job right now. So my point being, there are different techniques to proactively notify your business users, but it's going to depend on the nature of your business application. If emails are down, I guess we get it, or any application is down, yes. People are going to realize that, oh, yeah, there's a major issue with the availability of the application, therefore, you may want to put something on an intranet, on a SharePoint directory, on a internal website. You may be using a audio bulletin board, these kind of things. But again, this is going to depend on the business applications that you are delivering.
Thank you. There is a question about what do you use to manage alerts and monitoring? Is it the ITSM tool? I would hope it's not solely the ITSM tool unless it has alerts and monitoring techniques built in. But what we know from our research is that about 2/3 of organizations or so do have alerts and monitoring tools in place. But again, almost 1/3 do not. Which is fascinating to me that you would not have those tools available to you so that you know what's going on in your systems. But so about 1/3 of organizations don't have alerts and monitoring set up internally. So they would become aware if a user calls, and that still happens sometimes. Even if your alerts and monitoring, somebody may miss the fact that they get it. They may have what's called alert fatigue, which is they just get so many alerts they can't deal with them anymore. So I think we can just squeak in this one question. How do you indoctrinate new users to establish procedures for problem management to prevent call storms? Well, that's certainly true. I don't know if you have any words of wisdom there, Vincent, but getting people trained up on how to respond to these, again, first thing is have a plan to let everybody know what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it, and when they're supposed to do it. And have rehearsals, have drills. Make sure that people know what's going on and when.
Totally agree with that. You need to be ready. What you want to do, you know that when you're in the middle of the crisis, there's no time for writing a message. There's no time for manual steps, right? So get everything ready. Get agreement with the IT ops team, the IT teams that whenever they are needed, you're going to call them. They're going to be called, and only when they are needed, they're going to be called. So that you're going to get accountability and responsiveness from those guys. Back to the monitoring question, Roy, because I think it's very important. Roy just mentioned that a third of the organizations do not have alert or monitoring system in place, which means IT is going to be made aware that they have an issue after the business users have already experienced the pain. That means we are going to be already in the beginning of the cold storm when IT is made aware of the issue. So that's very difficult to prevent the cold storm from happening if you're already seeing the floating into your service desk.
Well, thank you very much. I just have time to close out, and we invite you to attend our next webinar on June 20th, which will feature No More Apologies, Mastering Multilingual Service in the Support Center. And this webcast is copyright 2017 by United Business Media, LLC. The presentation materials are owned by or copyrighted, if that's the case, by HDI, which is solely responsible for its content, and the individual speakers are solely responsible for their content and for their opinions. Thank you very much to Everbridge for sponsoring today's webinar. Thank you, Vincent Geoffrey, for being a great speaker, as always. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Roy.